Hello, my name is Robin Grassi. I'm your district safety champion. I'm also the Assistant Director of Food and Nutrition Services here at Barnabas. I've been here for the last 7 years. Safety is very important to us. It keeps everyone safe and keeps us all able to go back to our families every night. Today we're going to talk about electrical safety. There are 4 main types of electrical injuries. The most severe is electrocution, and that's death due to electrical shock. For example, 1/10 of an ampere amp of electricity going through the body for just 2 seconds is enough to cause death. The second is electrical shock. The third is burns. And then the fourth is injuries from falling that are triggered by electrical shock. The clues one could look for regarding electrical hazards are tripped circuit breakers or blown fuses, damaged electrical wires, cords, connections, or junction boxes. Ground fault circuit interrupters that keep switch tripping off and need to be re-tripped. Worn or frayed insulation around wire or connection. Cracked casing on double insulated equipment. Sparking or overheating. Sparks from electrical tool or an electrostatic discharge can ignite flammable materials in the area. Electrical shock, burns, and falls caused by electrical shock may take place, and how they take place. A current passes through the body. Severity of the shock depends on the path of current through the body, the amount of current flowing through the body, and the length of time the body is in the circuit. If you come in contact with an energized, a live wire, a black wire, and you're also in contact with a grounded white wire, this is hazardous because there's an easy path for the electrical current. If you're in contact with an energized wire, any energized electrical component, and also with any grounded object, when you come in contact with both wires of a 240 volt cable, you'll receive a shock and you could possibly be electrocuted. When working on a wet surface, use a portable ground fault circuit. And we're working with electrical tools or appliances on wet surfaces, for example, stripping floors. If you touch a live wire or another electrical component while standing in water, you'll receive a shock. Electrical shock can also cause indirect or secondary injuries. For example, workers in elevated locations who experience a shock can fall, resulting in a serious injury or death. Low voltage doesn't mean low hazard. How electrical burns occur? Well, electrical burns are very serious injuries that require immediate attention. The injury may not be apparent because the burn starts from the inside of the body. Electrical burns result from electrical current flowing through tissues or bone. The type and voltage of the circuit, the pathway through the body, the duration, and the resistance of the body will determine the severity of the damage. Other causes of electrical hazards? Well, electrical hazards may also take place as a result of inadequate wiring, electrical overload, improper grounding or power line problems, problems associated with inadequate wiring. A hazard exists when a conductor is too small to safely carry the current. Some examples, using a portable tool with an extension cord whose wire is too small for the tool or doesn't have a ground. The tool will draw more current than the cord can handle, causing overheating and a possible fire without tripping the circuit breaker. The circuit breaker could be the right size for the circuit, but not for the small wire extension cord. Overload hazards are as follows. If too many devices are plugged into a circuit, the current will heat the wires to a very high temperature. The temperature may cause fire. If the wire insulation melts, arcing may occur, and that can also cause a fire where the overload exists, even inside a wall, so that you're not aware of it immediately. Damaged wires and cords on any electrical appliance, well, a ground fault, and if a ground fault circuit keeps tripping, these are all signals that you need to be aware of what's going on. If a ground fault circuit interrupter keeps tripping while you're using a power tool, there is a problem. Don't continually reset the switch to the ground fault and continue to work. There are also grounding hazards. If you come in contact with an improperly grounded electrical device, you will be shocked. It could even be a toaster that causes this shock. The metal parts of an electrical wiring system that we touch, so switch plates, ceiling light fixtures, conduit, they should be at 0 volt relative to ground. The housings of motors, appliances, or tools that are plugged into improperly grounded circuits may become energized. protective measures against electrical hazards. In order to prevent electrical injuries, you must follow lockout-tagout procedures, including de-energizing electrical equipment before servicing. This is as simple as unplugging the slicer before you clean it. You will guard against contact with live parts of electrical equipment operating at 50 volts by using the approved circuit breaker box or permanent partitions that make them accessible only to qualified persons. Our electrical boxes are accessible only by licensed electricians from our plant operations department. Make sure that junction boxes and fittings have approved covers. Anything without a cover or damaged, you should contact your supervisor or manager. Watch out for damage on flexible cords caused by door or window edges, crimping them, staples or fastenings that have gone through, abrasions from adjacent materials that have exposed the wires. Some activities in the area, well, don't use extension cords as permanent wiring. Use ground fault whenever operating electrically powered equipment. And you can do these things even at home with your mower or your hedge trimmer. All ground fault circuits should be tested once a month to make sure that they're working properly. That is, protecting the user from shock. Use plugs with grounding function. The path to ground from circuits, equipment, and enclosures must be permanent and continuous. Use fuses and circuit breakers. Don't try to bypass these things. Make sure you're trained on safe procedures or techniques for performing your job and tasks. This is part of our 3 checks for safety. Tips for avoiding power line hazards are as follows. Well, most people don't realize that overhead power lines are usually not insulated. In order to prevent hazards associated with power lines, wear appropriate personal protective equipment. Don't use metal ladders, instead use fiberglass ladders. Beware of power lines when you work with ladders and scaffolding. Just to close, I want to remind everyone of the 3 checks for safety. Do I have the right tools to do the job? Do I know how to do the job? And is my area safe? Thank you very much for your attention and your time today. See you in the kitchen.